Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whatever time you happen to be watching this, I hope everyone has had a good day or a good week. If you are sick, I hope you're feeling better. And if you missed class because of a extracurricular activity, I hope the activity was a success. Before one writes, one should spend some time planning, one should spend some time eliminating the blank sheet that one has in front of him or herself, and one should get some words on paper and think about how to best communicate with the audience. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about planning, we're going to talk about pre writing. Once again, please remember that this is a quick and dirty overview of what went on in class, that I am not doing any editing of the video. I am just putting it up and it's quick and dirty. So you're going to hear all the ums. If my neighbor starts mowing the lawn, you're going to hear that. If my cat attacks me, you're going to hear that. And if my wife swears at me, you're going to hear that too. Step one, I think, is to determine the purpose of the essay. What is it that you want to do? There are lots of options. You might want to create a factual argument. Now, please remember, a factual argument is different than just asserting something as a fact. If, for example, we are going to argue about whether there's a tiger in the bathroom, all we need to do is go to the door, open it up, and look. If somebody gets eaten, there's a tiger. If not, we can easily see that there is no tiger in the bathroom. That's not necessarily what we're doing here. We are going to argue more about whether something should be accepted as a fact, not whether it is or is not a fact. Definitions. There are lots of ways to do it. We will talk about those throughout the course. Compare and contrast. Remember that compare is how things are the same, contrast is how they differ. Analyze. We're going to break down things into their constituent parts. Okay. Evaluate. We are going to say it is good, it is bad. We are going to give reasons for the evaluation and propose. We're going to argue that something should be done, something should not be done. Those are going to be key elements of the evaluative process, or the proposal process, excuse me. Determine the purpose. What is it that you want to do? Step two, who is your audience? I don't want to engage in stereotypes too much, but it strikes me that the folks in the top picture will be amenable to different appeals than the two gentlemen in the bottom picture. I don't think that the two will have the same ideas about what ought to be done. I don't think the two will react to the same thing. I suppose the top two might be fans of jazz waltzes, and the bottom two may have done a rap jazz waltz. I don't know. But I doubt that the two are going to be susceptible to the same sorts of appeals. So, who is your target audience? And what appeals can you make to the target audience? What facts will work with each of the target audiences? And what do you want your audience to do? Do you want a logical reaction? Do you want an emotional reaction? Do you want both? Do you want them to change their minds about something? Do you want them to act on new information? What exactly is it that you want the audience to do? Who are they? That's number one. What do you want them to do? That's number two. And then, after reading my essay, for your own shorthand, I don't think you should put this in the first paragraph. I don't think you should put this anywhere in the essay. But for your planning, after reading my essay, the reader should. They should know things, or they should believe things, or they should be encouraged to act on something and do something. They should understand. If you're in business and want to become a salesperson, they should desire or want. If you're, trying to get them to think differently, they should empathize with, or they should be willing to reconsider. All of those are perfectly fine functions. But once again, you have to determine who the audience is, how best to appeal to them, and before you can do that, perhaps, you should determine what do you want them to do. I don't think there's a first, second, and third here. I think all three have to happen. And the better essays are the ones that can combine knowing the purpose, knowing the audience successfully, and knowing whether you want a logical reaction, how do you want them to react. The best way to achieve that purpose. Okay? If you're going to tell me I'm supposed to read a book or watch a movie, and I've never seen it, what do I need to know about the book or movie? If you're claiming that something is overrated, what are the criteria you have so that something is rated properly? If you don't play video games, what do I need to know about the game you're describing? Or what do I need to know about the game that will get me to buy the whole, to subscribe to something on Twitch that will let me do it, or to, uh, buy the console to play it, or whatever it is that I need to do? What's going to convince me? Is it a logical appeal? Is it an emotional appeal? Will it provide me joy and happiness? Can you guarantee it'll make me young and good looking? What is it that it's going to do? And then what's the evaluative criteria? And what's the definition that's going to best eliminate confusion? In a lot of essays and in a lot of arguments, and by argument I'm talking about debate, there is no way to move forward until we agree on a definition. Without agreeing on a definition, it's almost impossible to move the discussion forward. So make sure that there's a good method of definition in essays other than just the definition essay. There are two types of appeals. And if one takes a look, I'm dealing with fear here. The image on the left is an image from a famous political ad in 1964. It's the Lyndon Baines Johnson, the LBJ Daisy ad. The little girl was pulling the daisies, and the implication was that if we elected Johnson's opponent, Barry Goldwater, we were going to the poor little girl was going to be destroyed by nuclear war. It was an emotional appeal based on fear. The SAS Survival Handbook is also about fear. What if something terrible happens to me and I am stranded in the middle of nowhere? But this one is logic. These are the things you should do to prepare. These are the tools you should think about having with you. These are how you can use the tools. So even if we're talking about something emotional like fear, we can still apply a logical explanation to that fear. And again, we can have emotional appeals, we can have logical appeals, but the format is going to be the same. Make a claim, support the claim with data, provide a warrant. The warrant links the data to the claim. The warrant explains why I should accept your argument. Why does the data support the claim? Why does the data mean that your claim is an accurate thing? The warrant, the explanation, is going to be the most important thing, whether you're appealing to me emotionally or whether you're appealing to me logically. The next thing I want to talk about is eliminating the blank screen, the blank piece of paper. It doesn't matter to me whether one writes with the keyboard or one sits down with a pencil and paper. I prefer to sit down with a pen and paper first and then get to the keyboard. But if you prefer the keyboard, go with God and be happy. Eliminating the blank screen, eliminating the blank piece of paper, I think are the most important things. So let's take a look at some methods. Prewriting. Just write everything. Don't censor the ideas. Come to mind. Everything that you can about the subject of the paper, write it down. Take 5, Get up, walk around your dorm room, walk around your apartment, walk around the block, come back, repeat. Do that several times. Get as much out as you can. Basically, you are just vomiting everything in your brain onto that sheet of paper. Looping. Once you've free written for a few times, pick up one of the key words, the key phrases, and begin a new idea, and then pick up a keyword and key phrase from your second set of free writing about that keyword and phrase, and repeat. Find the focus, find the central idea about the subject you're going to be writing, whether it's a cause and effect, whether it's a definition, whatever it is you're writing about. Find the focus, narrow it down. You have all these ideas from free writing, pick one of the keys, focus on that, and then pick one of the keys from that focus and try to narrow everything down. Create your own visuals. I can barely draw stick figures, so my visuals have to be very, very simple. Venn diagrams work. What's excluded from A and B, what's included in A and B, and what's included in A and B and C. What's excluded from A, what's excluded from C. You get the drift. I think the Venn diagrams work sometimes, especially if we're working again on compare and contrast essays. Some of this is going to be pick the right tool for the job, but I think Venn diagrams work for certain types of essays. Do the mind mapping. You put the word down, you circle, you try to get an idea off of that. Perhaps you're going to get another idea off of the second idea. You'll go back to the main idea and you'll try to map everything out. Okay. And I think that, again, this is a very, very common one. It works. And if you're a visual learner, this might be one of the easier ways to get rid of that blank screen, that blank sheet of paper. And again, there are, templates available to allow you to do it on the screen as well as on a sheet of paper. Create your own storyboard. First, second, third, order things, drag and drop things. The storyboard is something that I don't have a lot of success with, but I know other people who do. Think about it, use it, find what works for you. If there's anything I can talk about here, I think the key is find what works for you. Doodle. I'd prefer you not doodle while I'm lecturing, but to get your ideas out, doodle. Get them all out. Daydream. Get the external thoughts. Do whatever it works that can help you get ideas down. If you're an artistically minded person, make the doodles as artistic as possible. But get some ideas out there and do it visually first before you start writing with, the words. Ask questions. What do I know? What will my audience know? What do they need to know? Is this the best thing that will illustrate my point? What are the weaknesses? How can I answer those who disagree? I was a debate coach for a lot of years. I always tried to coach my debaters to believe and to know that their case had weaknesses. It was impossible to write a perfect case. The skill of the debater was, how can I answer those who disagree? How can I answer those who point out the weaknesses of my argument? But before one could do that, one had to know what the weaknesses were. The same is true for writing an essay. There will be weaknesses in your argument. I think essays are at their core an argument. Even a narrative is at core an argument. And we'll talk about that when we get to the narrative essay. But what are the weaknesses and how can I answer those who disagree? How can I answer those who point out the weaknesses? There's also the classic journalistic questions. Who? What? Where? When? Why? How? Who will be affected? What is the basic problem? Where is the cause or effect most visible? When did the cause or effect become apparent? Why does this issue matter? How are the items different? How will the proposal solve the problem? Who, what, where, when, why, and how? Those journalistic questions, I think, are important for education, for curiosity, for getting a paper started, and for definition essays, because we'll be doing that. How does the dictionary define the word? What do I mean by the word? What group of things does this thing belong to? How is this thing different from other things? What parts can it be divided into? Does this mean something now that it didn't years ago? If so, what? For example, nice used to mean trivial. Now, centuries later, nice means that somebody is polite or kind, or it's something that we like and we enjoy. What other words? What are the synonyms? And what are some concrete examples? And you will notice that I stole this, I believe, from the Purdue Owl, which is an excellent source for uh, learning about essays and writing about essays. Uh, Double check there if you have other questions that you think I haven't answered. Comparison contrast. What's it similar to? What is it different from? How? Is it superior? Is it unlike something? And again, I got this from the same source. They have other stuff there, but I think that that's always a big chunk of it. And then for cause and effect, what causes something? What are the effects of something? All of these questions, I think, are a key element to eliminating the blank screen. It's a step by step process. When one has a paper due, step one is to get rid of the blank sheet of paper, the blank screen. When one has a big project, when one has a big mess to clean up, it start with step one and then just keep going. Step two, little steps. And I think the questions, I think the doodling, I think all of those can function as little steps to allow one to get rid of the blank screen and start a paper. Cubing. We'll probably do this in class a few times with a few tweaks to this, but describe something, compare it, associate it with something that's part of your life, analyze it, break it down into its key parts, apply it to something. How can it be used? And then argue for it, argue against it. All of those, I think, will help people get ready for the essay. Like I said, we'll do that in class a couple of times. Finally, there are other options. The pros versus cons list, the T-charts. You can make some analogies. You can do an outline. In my outline, write crap down. Subpoint A, write down more crap. Subpoint B, write down still more crap. Main point A, B, change the order of the written crap. You'll notice, though, that be sure the word crap is spelled correctly is not part of the pre-writing. Pre-writing doesn't have an editing element. Pre-writing is eliminate the blank page, get things down, get a few things pulled out of what you have written down so that you can get started. The revising and editing will come later. This is just eliminating the blank page. I hope those of you who couldn't make class today will be back next class period. I hope that this didn't put anybody to sleep unnecessarily. If you use it to cure your insomnia, I hope it helped a little bit, but I hope that also means that you'll be awake in class next class period. Have an enjoyable day or whatever is left of your day, and thanks for taking the time to watch this.